Fellow Southern Cameroonians, fellow Ambazonians, I come to you today, 2 weeks after the famous 1st of October 2017, a day in which you as a people made your position very clear. You spoke loud and clear to the rest of the world to hear you of your decision to restore the nationhood of your country, the Republic of Ambazonia. We are taking stock 2 weeks later, and it is appalling what Mr. Biya's forces have done to our people ever since. We have been counting the deaths, and we are going to the hospitals and seeing the wounded, and we know of so many who have simply disappeared. And I want to start by addressing the commission that Mr. Biya himself has set up, chaired by the Prime Minister, that has been sent to every county of our land to go and see for themselves what Mr. Biya has done to their own people. This is an assignment with destiny. I hope and believe and pray that Mr. Philemon Yang, Prime Minister and Head of Government in Mr. Biya's regime, would take his people to go and count for himself the deaths that Mr. Biya has caused his people. I wonder what that commission is going to bring out when they go to their own villages, when they have left behind their brothers and sisters who are crying and mourning, when they have left corpses in the mortuaries. I wonder how such people would go to their villages and come out to declare that nobody has died, because that is the expectation from Mr. Biya. He expects these people to go to their own villages in spite of their various losses, in spite of their homes being ransacked, in spite of their villages being completely brutalized and left in ruins, in spite of their people, their fathers and mothers in the bushes. Mr. Biya expects Mr. Philemon Yang and all those people he's sending to Southern Cameroon to come back and tell him that all is well. This is similar to what the Cameroon Tribune wrote in their newspaper, saying that Bamenda was in cathedral silence on the 1st of October, in spite of everything that we saw. This is a provocative assignment. I want Mr. Philemon Yang and all those elites of Southern Cameroon who have been given this assignment, which is starting on Monday, to go to their villages and come back with a report that tells the world exactly what atrocities Mr. Biya's forces have done to our people. This is an opportunity we had in 1954. Dr. Ndele led our people out of Enugu and came to form his own nation. Mr. Yang and the elites of Southern Cameroon, you have a similar opportunity today. History will judge you all. I expect that you go to your villages, you meet the chiefs, and you ask for an inventory of every one of our people who has been beaten, who has been maimed, who has been killed, who has simply disappeared, and those of them who are in prison. You come back to Yaoundé and you present that scorecard to Mr. Biya, and at the end of that scorecard, you tell Mr. Biya, having seen the magnitude of the atrocities, that even you have now decided to go back home. Be rest assured, my fellow brothers and sisters, that our issue has been raised at the highest international levels. We have been informed of the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights that have asked the Cameroon government to open its doors to an independent investigation. This call does not come by accident. This call comes when the United Nations has reason to believe that there's a genocide in a country. The United Nations has been informed by the Amnesty report. The United Nations has seen the letter written by the Episcopal Conference of Southern Cameroon. They have every reason now to believe that a genocide has happened in Southern Cameroon, and that's why they have instructed an independent committee, an independent investigation. We asked Mr. Biya for once to let an independent committee get into Southern Cameroon to reveal the atrocities that his forces have caused. He has shut down internet, he has been switching off electricity because he thinks he can hide the atrocities of his people, but we can reassure our people None of our deaths will go unaccounted for. None of our people who has disappeared will go unaccounted for. We know that justice will be done, and all the people who have been causing us the atrocities of the last so many months, and particularly the last couple of weeks, will be brought to book. I can reassure our people that working with our law firm in New York, in London, and in Washington, D.C., we have established a case, and we are sending it at the International Criminal Court at The Hague, where all the people in the Mr. Biya's regime who have been causing these atrocities, from Mr. Biya himself to the Minister of Communication, to the governors of the Southwest and the Northwest, and everybody in between who has participated in any way, shape, or form to these atrocities, every one of them will be brought to book. I want to remind our people that our case has not only been heard by the international community. Our brothers in the Cameroon Diaspora Forum have also heard our voices and our cries. And they have called us, they've invited us to a conference in Paris, in the heart of France. Our delegation is currently participating at that conference, which will go on over the weekend. We hope that many other groups in Cameroon and beyond will join such call like the Cameroon Diaspora Forum to redress this wrong that has been caused to us for the past 56 years. We applaud the Paris conference organizers, and we hope that their resolutions will be tabled not only to Mr. Biya's government, but they will be tabled to the French government, the European Union, the African Union, and the United Nations. We have been informed of certain lawyers in the southern Cameroon who are set to destroy our restoration movement. We've been getting mixed feelings from some lawyers in their small groups who are deciding that, who are saying to people that they will resume work on Monday. We urge those lawyers to remember the cases in the last 10 years of all those people who said they were going to start and they failed. This struggle is bigger than every one of us. This movement has gone beyond the lawyers and the teachers. This is now a movement for the identity of the people. This is a movement for the restoration of the independence of Southern Cameroon into the nation we call the Republic of Ambazonia. No one, I repeat, has a right to betray this restoration movement. To our people back home, I want to applaud you. We take our hats off to all of you. You have been standing tall in spite of the tragedy that has befallen us. You are our true heroes. And in time, history will retain that when the call was made, you answered present. We owe you a huge debt for the sacrifices you've made. We want you at this moment to take stock. We want you to keep an inventory. We know that internet has been cut off. We know that you have electricity only a couple of hours in weeks. But please, we urge you to do the last honorable thing to our people. We want you to keep an inventory of everyone, and I mean everyone who has been beaten, everyone who has been tortured, those who have been killed, and those of your family members who have simply disappeared. I got a phone call the other day from a woman who said their father is a very old man, and 10 days ago, when they heard in their village that the military were coming, as they were brutalizing villages before theirs, her old father told her before leaving the house, he said, I am going into the forest to hide. I might not come back again. She said, the man said to her, but whatever happens, whether I come back or not, tell my children, you people should not abandon this fight that Sisiku has started. We get very motivated when we hear things like that. We know that this struggle can never end until we get to Buea. I have instructed the Department of Health and Social Services to reach out to our people because we are going to provide support for those of our fallen heroes. In my previous message, I gave clear instructions as to how we bury those our heroes. We know that the government, because of the atrocities that they have caused us, We even hear stories of radioactive substances having been used to kill our people. We know that the government is doing everything, even to prevent us from burying our people. I urge you, my people, when you have a chance to bury our people, give them the best honor. You have to clothe their remains in our flag, and you have to sing the Ambazonia anthem before you bury them. But for those who are wounded, those who are in hospitals, and those who are even hiding in their bushes, we have asked the Department of Health and Social Services to send some relief material to back home. We are supporting even financially. We are supporting in any way possible, which leads me to reach out now to those of us in the diaspora. This movement has lasted for the last 10, 11 months and 1 year because of you in the diaspora. This struggle has now moved from the home front to the diaspora. We have given it our best shot so far, but I think we all need to take it to the next dimension. I am asking those of us in the diaspora, number one, you must engage the local authorities in the countries in which you live. You are not living in those countries by design. You are not living in those countries because you like to. As I taught the nations, I realized with tears in my eyes how most of you are as successful as you are, how most of you are very disappointed that your successes cannot be in a country you call your home. This is the moment for you to take this struggle to its final destination. This is the moment for you to lead every one of us home. You have to do that by making known this problem to the nations in which you find yourself, legally and in respect of the laws of that nation. But you must tell them, those people there, where you come from, you must tell them the atrocities Mr. Biya has been causing to our people. How would you do that? You have to do that in many ways, by writing letters to your members of parliament, to your state representatives, and to every authority in your region. But beyond that, we have to go to the religious institutions. You must reach out to your churches, to your imams, and tell them our story. We want you to organize exhibitions where you display the atrocities in multimedia format. We want you to display the atrocities that our people have suffered in the last 10 months, in the last year. Put the pictures out, invite the public to come and see. And at the end, we expect you to organize demonstrations in front of the embassies, in front of the high commissions, to tell whoever is coming around what Mr. Biya has done to your people in the last few months. This responsibility is now ours. We are on the home straight, and we expect the diaspora to take us home. To those of us who have the privilege to lead this restoration movement, this is the moment when we have to show leadership. Anyone can lead a movement when things are good, but the true test of leadership is what you do at the times when things are not going your way. We knew that Mr. Biya's regime was capable of atrocities. What we did not know was the level to which Mr. Biya's team could cause havoc on our people, on an armless people who moved around with peace plans shouting, "No violence, no violence." At this moment, we have to display leadership. There is no talk of division within the governing council. We have to show leadership. I urge every one of us to keep his or her eyes fixed on the prize. The prize is Boya. The prize is the restoration of the independence of our nation. I want every one of us to show leadership. What does that mean? Leadership is example. It's in the things we think about. It's in the things we say. It's in what we write and post. It is in what we do. I am urging every one of us, anytime you have a thought, just a thought coming to your head, you have to ask yourself, is this thought going to advance the cause of the 8 million people who depend on what I think? If the answer is no, you must abandon that thought. Every time you feel like saying something, you have to ask yourself, are the utterances of my mouth going to improve the course of action of the 8 million people who depend on me? If the answer is no, you have to refrain from that word. If you think of writing anything to post in this 21st century, you must ask yourself, Is this writing and this post going to advance the cause of the restoration of the independence of this 8 million man nation? If the answer is no, you must stop that post. And ultimately, anytime you feel like doing something, you have to ask yourself, how good is this thing going to take the struggle? If it's not taking it forward, there is no standing on the fence. If your actions are not going to take the struggle forward, for God's sake, do not do this. None of us is bigger than this struggle. Any one of us who betrays this struggle, I urge the people, I said it many times during my talk, not even the chairman of the governing council can betray this cause. Any one of us, your leaders, who betrays this cause should be thrown under the bus, because our people, the 8 million people to whom we have paid allegiance to lead, they deserve better. In the coming weeks, in the coming days, we are going to organize an enlarged emergency conclave. That conclave would analyze our successes in the last 10 months. That conclave would analyze our failures in the last 10 months. That conclave would analyze our challenges going forward, and that conclave would set a new direction. By new direction, I am saying, where do we go from here? And there are those who have asked me, Sisiku, is there still any room for negotiation? I would say it now, as I said before, there is a small window for negotiations. But that negotiations with Mr. Paul Biya's team is not for anything but to discuss the terms of our separation. We are going to go to that negotiation to iron out our differences so that we become two friendly nations. The choice today is Mr. Biya's on how well he wants those two nations to be brotherly or sisterly. If he doesn't handle this divorce very well, if he continues to kill our people as he is killing them, tomorrow might be two very hostile nations against each other. The choice is his today. You make your choices, and eventually your choices make you. Tomorrow, the choice will be ours. I want to take this opportunity now to thank our people. You have been the rock on which I stand. And I'm hoping that we will continue to stand strong, to be resolute until we get to Boya, where we will sing together, where we will dance together, and where we will have to build our nation together. Long live the people of Ambazonia, and God bless you all.